This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and this is our podcast where we talk about everything in the world of sports. We're going to start off with the wonderful world of basketball. We do have some football news to get into as well, of course. Also, some Serena Williams news as well. She is with child, which is exciting, but some negative things have been said about her, I'm sure. As you guys can imagine, this is nothing new to her, but I wanted to give you guys her response to the negativity because I thought it was pretty awesome what she said. So we have a lot to get into today, of course. First, we're going to start off with basketball because it's playoff time right now, and there's been quite a bit of action in the NBA world. So last night we had three big games in the NBA last night. I don't know why. One series is officially done. Two are, we're pushing it. We're pushing it deep into this series. So I'm excited about that. So anyways, the Milwaukee Bucks went to Toronto to face off against the Raptors last night. They lost to the Raptors 93-118. Thus, it is in the ballpark for Toronto. They are now leading 3-2 in this series. Giannis last night, he had a huge game for his squad. Nothing less expected. 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists from him in the inside. Norman Powell, however, of the Toronto Raptors was a top scorer for his squad last night. He had 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists for his squad. So definitely a game that we talked about. When you win game 5, it kind of pushes you into that momentum to seal the deal in this series, especially when now you lead 3-2. So they need one more win for the Raptors. It's going to be a strong game for them this next time these two teams see one another in the series. If the Bucks, I'm hoping, because I like the Bucks, I want it to go to a game 7. I want the Bucks to do well. I want them to get past this series. I do. So they're definitely going to have to put this one behind them so as to not let it affect them the next time that they square up against the Toronto Raptors. Everybody on the Bucks contributed last night. Everybody saw some tick for the most part, just one guy without anything. The Raptors, Kyle Lowry of the Raptors, he played 36 minutes, contributed 16 points. He was 6 of 6 from the free throw line and 50% from the 3. He shot 2 of 4, so not bad over there. Norman Powell, like I said, he was a top performer last night. He was 4 of 4 from the 3-point line and 5 of 5 from the free throw. So definitely a lot of consistency there. Last night, the Raptors, they were shooting 92% from the free throw line. So that definitely gave them that edge as well. Getting those free points are definitely always going to give you the edge. I'm all about the free throw action over there. So then moving on to the next set of games, we had the Washington Wizards take on the Atlanta Hawks. So the the Washington Wizards were, in town for the Atlanta Hawks. They fell to the Hawks 111 to 101. Bradley Beal of the Wizards was the top performer last night. He posted 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. However, just not enough. Paul Millsap of the Hawks, he had 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. But the guy that I'm really impressed with and glad that he had a big game for his squad last night was Dwight Howard. So Dwight, he posted last night a total of 15 rebounds and 16 points for his team. He had 1 block, 1 assist as well. He was 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 6 of 14 from the field. So not too bad for the big guy inside. I'm glad he's still able to make some contributions for his squad. So the series now is tied for the Washington Wizards and the Atlanta Hawks. It's tied 2-2. So they're going to be pushing it to a game 5, definitely, perhaps a 7, depending on how 5 and 6 go. So could potentially be a much longer series for this matchup. So if you are a Wizards or Hawks fan, that's exciting for you because we get a lot more basketball from your two teams before somebody has to go home. So not bad for the teams last night. Game 5, like we've said, it's going to be really pivotal. I am hoping that the Wizards are able to pull this one out and take this series from the Hawks last night. So anyway, or for the rest of the season. So anyways, moving on to the big game of the night, something that I know we all saw coming, but the Golden State Warriors did eliminate the Portland Trailblazers last night. They swept them 4-0. The Warriors last night had 45 points in the first quarter. That's pretty much sums up the game. So the Warriors had 128, the Portland Trailblazers 103. Steph Curry was the game leader as far as points were concerned for his squad. No surprise there, 37 points. He was 12 of 20 from the field, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Damian Lillard for his team, 34 points, and he was 8 of 9 from the free throw line. So definitely trying their best. But the defense of the Blazers really is what kind of hurt them last night, and just the dominance that the Warriors have on the offensive end really was exposed last night. So the Golden State Warriors, they were 53% from the field goal, so 53% from the field and 58% from the three-point line. So definitely hurt the Blazers. The Blazers were only 38% from the field and 33% from the three-point line, So definitely tough when facing off against the Golden State Warriors. After the break, I'm going to tell you guys what Damian Lillard had to say about the Warriors after this loss last night from them. The Warriors even out-rebounded them. Warriors had 56 rebounds at the end of the game, whereas the Blazers only had 49. The Blazers also had 11 turnovers. So definitely a tough game all the way around for the Blazers in that loss last night. So not, like I said, too surprising, I suppose. Definitely a heartbreaker for the Blazers, but it's time to reevaluate. And like I said, after the break, because we're going to cut to a quick break, I'll tell you guys what Lillard had to say about the Golden State Warriors and the future as far as matching up against the Warriors, as well as how Kevin Durant feels about the matchup, the future matchups that these two teams are going to be having in the very foreseeable future. So we'll get into that after the break. Like I said, you guys are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and so I'm going to give you guys what was said about the Warriors from Damian Lillard's perspective, and also how Kevin Durant is feeling about these future matchups that the Warriors are going to be having against the Portland Trailblazers. So last year, as we know, the Blazers and Warriors matched up in last year's playoffs, but the Trailblazers lost in the second round to them in 5 games. That's what all of that it took last year for the Warriors to kick out the Blazers. And then, of course, they swept them this year, as we just discussed. So not unfamiliar. This is definitely something that seems, like a record we've heard before. But Damian Lillard, he did say that he has a newfound obsession with the Warriors. He said, you have to be obsessed, and this is a quote from him, you have to be obsessed with that because you know that they're so good that they're going to be there. That's who you're going to have to get through to get to where you want to go. That's what it is. So he recognizes that when his team gets to the playoffs, the Warriors are going to be there too. Like, no doubt that they are going to be there. It's going to be one of the challenges on the road to the championship series that they're going to have to get past if they ever want to get deep in the playoffs. This year they faced them round 1. Last year it was round 2. So at some point he recognizes at some point they're going to have to face off against the Warriors, and that's the team to ultimately, that's the squad that they have to get past to beat in the playoffs if they ever want to get, past round 2 and things like that. So he also said about the year as far as the season is concerned, because of course they're going to ask about that, how he feels on the season. He said, quote again, I wouldn't say it was a successful year. We got tested, and I think we answered the bell. I felt like we showed our true colors by the way we fought, but I wouldn't say successful. I think it was growth, a year of growth for us. And I 100% agree with what he is saying. They snuck in to the playoffs in that 8th seed. They weren't terrible this year, but they weren't really making much of a stance this entire season. So they really snuck into the western side of things as far as playoffs are concerned in that 8th seed. So you definitely don't want to get swept. You want to put up a fight, even if you are the 1-8 matchup. And, I think that he's right. He recognizes the fact that the Warriors are always going to be there. It's always going to be something that he's going to, a challenge for him and his squad as long as he's on the Blazers and for the entire West Side in general when it comes to playoffs. But he recognizes that. I think it's, I don't think it's weird that he's obsessed with trying to beat the Warriors because that is the mark. That is the team to beat at this time. So I think it totally makes sense as to why he's obsessed with that. And then Kevin Durant also had a piece to say, and he said in regards to the Trailblazers and their future games that they're going to be playing against one another, he said, I think they should have been a higher seed, but they fought their way into the playoffs. He did also say, I think they need another ball handler on the wing to get them going. It's going to be fun playing against these guys in the next few years. So, the Warriors recognize that the Blazers are going to be on their schedule in these next few years as well. And that I think it's good. I think it's good competition. I like it. I'm hoping that the Trailblazers will have a better season next season. But as for that, for now, it's a done deal. So anyway, so tonight we have a couple of games as well. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Houston Rockets. James Harden saying that he does have a sore ankle, but he recognizes that everybody's banged up right now, he said. And he also mentioned that you just got to find a way to fight through it and help your teammates win games. He did not have a high scoring game in their win over the Rockets in game 4 this past Sunday. He only had 16 points, but he said, I don't have to score a certain amount of points as long as I'm making the right plays and guys are getting shots. Everybody is in a good rhythm. That's all that matters. And that's what's getting them these wins over the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, game 5 is tonight, 5 p.m. on TNT in Houston. The Rockets are leading 3-1 this series. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say this is a wrap after tonight for the historic season that Russell Westbrook has been having. I'm sure it's going to be a passionate game, a lot of emotions. So it's going to be a pretty, I would assume, a pretty feisty game. It's going to be a hard game. I know that the Thunder are not going down without a strong, hard fight. So we'll definitely see what's up with that soon. The Memphis Grizzlies are taking on the Spurs tonight. This has been an exciting series to watch as well. They are having game 5 as well tonight. However, it is tied 2-2. So anybody's ball game. They are in San Antonio. However, the Spurs are 31-10 at home. So the odds seem to be in Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs' favor. And then tonight, wrapping up this night of game 5s, actually, is the Utah Jazz and the Clippers. They are matching up in the Staples Center tonight in Los Angeles. This series is also tied 2-2. But, the Clippers just have some bad luck streaks as far as injuries are concerned. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they are able to pull this one off, if they are able to. Doesn't seem like a lot of people are going to be in the stands. It's a tough series. This one's a hard one. Speaking of injuries, and Rajon Rondo, he was in a cast, as we know, but he's out of the cast. He didn't have a cast on last night. He is ruled out for game 5. However, tomorrow night against the Boston Celtics, Isaiah Cannon is going to be starting at point guard for the Chicago Bulls. So we'll see how that goes. However, they decided to remove the cast. He is still in a splint for his thumb. So, still. But their coach did not say. So he's for sure not playing tomorrow night in game 5. However, there is a potential return for game 6 and possibly for game 7 if it gets that far. So, Bulls fans, there is still some hope as far as perhaps a potential return of Rajon Rondo as early as this series. And if they can get past and best the Celtics, then perhaps the return of Rondo this postseason. So that's definitely very exciting for all of you Bulls fans, because we know that he was a huge factor, and that missing him is hurt. It hurts for that. So we will definitely see how that turns out. It's just hard, because do you return game 6 or game 7 if it gets that far to help your squad get past this series, but then you can't play the next series? Do you sit it out? It's just a sticky situation, because then do you just sit out these next 2 games and hope that your team makes it past and that you're able to return in a week or 2? So I don't know. It's a tough decision. Of course, they're going to have to play it day by day and see just how much he can take and how much his wrist and hand can definitely handle. So we will, of course, keep you guys updated on that. But anyways, we're going to cut it to our next break. And when we come back, it is going to be some more news. That's going to wrap up our segment on basketball, the world of basketball. But we have some other things to get into, as well as what Madison Bumgarner, who we spoke of in the podcast before yesterday, what he has to say about his accident. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. So we are getting ready to wrap up this episode. But before we do, I wanted to give you guys some updates in the rest of the world of sports, especially in regards to some things, some updates on what we talked about yesterday and what we've been discussing these last few episodes. Madison Bumgarner was able to give his side of the story of what happened in his accident that is causing him to sit for quite some time, as well as Adrian Peterson and what he is expecting to sign today, and as far as what he told us today. And then also, if we have enough time, a retirement announcement that came today as well. So let's just jump right into, first off, the Madison Bumgarner story. So he, for those of you guys don't know, he's a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. He was the 2014 World Series MVP. And on Thursday, this last Thursday, he, in a dirt bike accident on the team's day off while in Colorado, he hurt himself. He bruised his ribs and sprained his shoulder, and it's just an all bad situation because now he's going to have to sit out for, like I said, quite some time to heal up and to, take care of himself. So he did say that he was with two family members. They weren't speeding or racing on the bike. He was definitely wearing a helmet. He didn't hit a rock or anything that really caused him with this accident, and it wasn't icy or snowy. Wasn't like he was doing tricks and stuff like that, which I think some people, even myself, were kind of assuming is what caused the accident. And he did say, quote, "I'm not exactly sure what happened. It was a surprise to me too. I wish I had some kind of cool story for you, that it was some kind of crazy wreck, but it really wasn't anything spectacular, just super unfortunate. I was actually being pretty safe the whole time. It was just a freak deal. It happened right at the end. That's really it. Like I said, I wish I had some kind of good story to tell everybody, but I don't." He did also say, "I realize that's definitely not the most responsible decision I've made. It sucks not being able to be out there with my guys and try to help us win some games. It's just very unfortunate. They know where I'm at, and everybody's been super supportive. The organization, the guys, everything." So, there's no timetable on a return for Madison or what he could get back for the Giants. It is, it does. It sucks, and especially because, I'm just kind of glad he recognizes that it wasn't that responsible. He could own it, and that's fine. He owns it, and he knows that definitely in the future, he's not going to be making decisions like that. Resting on your off day is always the best decision. Always just resting and not especially when your job is your body and it's your season. I just feel like you got to just be a little bit more gentle and not assume that you're invincible. You know what I mean? So definitely a tough, tough lesson for him and the Giants to have to deal with. Definitely something that, all of us can take as a lesson, not being too crazy on our off days and trying to be as safe as possible, especially when it can jeopardize your job. Especially. So, anyways, speaking of jobs, Adrian Peterson says that he plans to sign a 2-year deal that is basically a 1-year deal. I'll get into those details with the New Orleans Saints. He did say that the deal is worth a base total value of $7 million. The terms basically which are agreed to as of right now is the 2017 compensation is $3.5 million, all guaranteed at signing, which includes a $1 million guaranteed salary in 2017 and a $2.5 million signing bonus is basically what that breakdown is. The maximum incentive package is $8.25 million, and whatever incentives are reached in 2017 get added to the per game bonuses in 2018. And then his 2018 compensation is $3.5 million, none of which is guaranteed. That's one of the tough things about football. So that part's not guaranteed. It includes $2.4 million in total roster bonuses. And then a $1.05 million salary and $5,000 workout bonus. So that's the breakdown of what he is so far agreeing to and what it looks like is going to be the move for Adrian Peterson and the Saints. He did say, "I'm excited to be joining the New Orleans Saints. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. Most importantly, I chose this team because it just felt right within my spirit. And additionally, my wife and family added their confirmation with the same feelings." He said, "I feel like my skill set can make them even more dominant as a unit. They have a great offensive line, which is something that stood out to me as well." He's been talking to the coach, he said, for the last 2 weeks, and, in ways that he can contribute and how he can contribute and things like that. He said he did a lot of homework on the defense as well. It looks like he's invested. Looks like it. He's 32 years old as of last month. He did become a free agent when the Vikings decided not to pick up their $18 million option on him. So, definitely a shift in gears. However, if they, once this deal is solidified and it goes through, he could potentially have the chance to play against the Vikings in really right away in week 1 as the ESPN's Monday night doubleheader that's going to set off week 1. So, some excitement there. There's nothing better than, it's kind of like that sweet revenge, I guess you could say, on a former team for him, and he can show them, I guess, what they're missing out on. That's basically what it comes down to whenever, you get traded or anything like that. The next time you go there, unless it was on good terms, of course, then sometimes you're welcomed back by the fans with cheers and all of that. But sometimes when, just depends on the overall sentiment. So, like I said, so he was a 2012 NFL MVP. He spent his first 10 seasons with the Vikings and ranks currently 16th in NFL history with over 11,000 rushing yards. He did say that he wasn't really looking for the money situation. It was just finding the best fit and helping a team in a major way win a championship. So he did last season. He only played 3 games because he tore his meniscus on September 18th. And he did play against the Indianapolis Colts about 3 months later. However, he did sit out the final 2 games because he suffered an abductor strain in that game back. So he finished the season with 72 yards and 37 carries. So not terrible, not terrible at all. There's still some fight left in AP, so we'll see how that turns out for them. Anyway, so that's going to do it for the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.